mahatag ko pointers so that you will know kung ano ang coverage for the exam, and then also the type of exam as well. Anyway, it will be done online. Okay. So, let me just share my screen first. So, please take note that again, this session is recorded so that those mga classmates ninyo nga hindi man makasulod, for example, kay poor ang internet connection, they can just rewatch this session. Now, for the others, so mag-check man ko attendance right after. So, I will be calling your name one by one. Hindi na siya parehas last time nga automatic na na-record. Although, ma-automatic man siya ma-record Japon, pero ma-check na ko attendance and I will call your name one by one. Okay, wait lang for a while. Let me open my... Okay. Let me share my screen first. Okay. Hindi siya subong ipas. Mahatag lang ko pero there are few days pa, may mga days pa nga deadline. Sa ano na siya siguro, either on Monday or depends on the activity kay upload ko pa, and then siguro mga next week na ang deadline. Okay? Hindi man ta maayawan, no? Sorry, hindi ko very fluent in Hiligay nun, so this may come off as koan mag awkward mag speak in Hiligay nun. Anyway, let us continue, but before that, let's have a very short recap on what we discussed last week. Okay, let me expand. Okay. So, if you can still remember, we discussed the early start of tourism, from early tourism until some modern tourism or modern times 90th and 20th century. So, di ba, tourism started even as early as the time of Noah, during the Old Testament, no? And then also the word tourism was derived from the Hebrew word Torah, means studying, learning, and searching. We also established last time that tourism has two forms: travel for business, such as trading, or for example, merchants would travel and barter what they have because during that time currency was not yet established, and then also pilgrimages or religious travel. So there were also travel for private purposes such as Olympic Games and travel for enjoyment. Okay? So then tourism for medieval period, so there was a time actually when tourism declined, 'di ba? If you can still remember, because of the fall of the Roman Empire, and then it was not safe anymore to travel, especially for merchants, and only those who are involved in crusades and for religious travel or pilgrims were the ones who traveled during that time. And then this is where the word travel was introduced because of the word travel. But it did not really last long. Eventually, naatay tourism during the Renaissance and Elizabethan eras, wherein travel for education, if you can still remember, no, edu-tourism was very popular na during this time because for you to serve the court of the Queen, which is Queen Elizabeth I, you have to travel all around Europe and even go to the cultural areas or cultural centers in the continent of Europe, no? France, Italy, and then learn their customs, their traditions, how they handle their politics, so that after 3 years, after your grand tour for 3 years, you will come back to England, and then you'll be able na to serve or have a position under the court of Queen Elizabeth I. Dili katong bag-o nga queen nga namatay, ha, si Queen Elizabeth II man to siya. Okay? So, si Queen Elizabeth I man siya, no, during the Elizabethan era. Okay, 16th century. Later on, if just a recap ha, later on, ang edutourism had an appeal or became so popular na sa mga dato, no? Nga dili lang siya travel just for enlightenment or for education, but nahimo na pud na siya og travel for social purposes. So, ang uban nga dili man gusto mag-serve sa queen pero gusto man nila mag-travel, so they get to travel around Europe like France, Italy, no, and enjoy the culture and social life of Europe. And by the 18th century, travel all around the continent not just became a requirement for you to serve the queen, but also became an institutionalized practice, no, or meaning mura na siya og kuan kanang requirement, no, for the di ba siya yung requirement, but mura siya og lifestyle na siya sa mga dato. And then when the rich seek pleasure or educational tourism and traveled all around Europe, other people would tend to travel in the continent of Europe for a remedy for their illnesses. And this is where the term spa was introduced. So, ang spa nga, unlike what we know today, nga kanang massage or relaxation, ang spa before was literally just a fountain used for bathing. And when you bathe in that fountain, you will be healed. So, it's for healing illnesses ang purpose sa spa, not just for like relaxation or leisure. Dili to ing ana sa una. And then later on, nakita nila nga murag daghan naman na travel for health purposes. So, nagtukod na sila og mga entertainment and accommodation nearby fountains or spas so that naay mga places nga ma-accommodate ang mga travelers and sila pud makakwarta pud sila. Recap on the Industrial Revolution. So, diri na ni na-decline ang agriculture as a main source of livelihood for people. So, na-introduce ang Industrial Revolution where there are factories, machines, diri na ni siya ang kanang hinay-hinay na nga masugod ang kuan, ang steamship, no, and railway gamit og steam power. And then pagkahuman diri pod ang hinay-hinay na og pagbuild og mga infrastructures. Okay. So, ang for modern tourism, diri na ni siya, no, kagikan man sa industrialization, diri na pod na introduce ang steam-powered sa 19th century. So, like boats and trains. And then because of this, there is a convenient way of traveling na. And because there is a convenient way of traveling, people were more encouraged or curious to travel. And because of this, dira na nagtukod ang daghan kay mga hotels and entertainment facilities to accommodate the influx of tourists. And not only this class, no, diri pod niya na-introduce ang mga travel organizers. And the first travel organizer, which we will also reintroduce him again in our next discussion next week, is Thomas Cook. No? So, Thomas Cook is the first travel organizer, and he organized his first excursion trip between Leicester and Loughborough. So, may excursion gani class, muuli ra siya ini kagabi Dili siya mo overnight stay. And then he brought with him 570 passengers. So, tour organizers or travel organizers were rampant during the 19th century because they saw a need for tours to be organized kay people who traveled when it is their first time, because first time nila makavisit sa usa ka lugar tungod kay na may trains, convenient na, it's easy na to travel. So, na-realize niya nga daghang kay tao nga masaag, or if you do not understand what masaag means, so there are a lot of people who really do not know where to go and what to do in a certain place. So what they usually do is that they tend to not enjoy the trip, no? So because of travel organizers, people will have an organized itinerary, and they have like a tour guide baronet who will show them around the place. So later on, expand si Cook, no, Thomas Cook sa America. And then nag-introduce siya circular banks. So that is one way of, paying for the tourism services in another country in case dili ka money exchange. Kay unlike sa una, wala man ni money exchanger sa una nga ibaylo nimo ang peso nimo to dollars so that you can spend it sa USA. So, imong buhaton, you make use of circular notes sa unang panahon, mara cheque, dala nimo isulat tanan imong mga bayranan, and then ibaylo na siya sa bangko sa mga restaurant, hotels, and shops. And then, diri na po siya nga time nga ning-expand ang mga travel organizers or tour and travel companies nga nagtukod na po sila to also kanang atbangan, no? Or ilahang to compete with Thomas Cook, no? Like Dean and Dawson, Polytechnic Touring Association and Frames, American Express. There are also guidebooks that were introduced during this time, which is basically just a compilation of all the room rates, mga pila ang plate sa train, and also asang mga lugar nga nindot i-visit. Okay? So, all of the details sa mga tourism services na asa guidebooks. Okay, wala pa may website before. And then, tourism in the 20th century, dili na na-introduce ang motor car and also the airplane, no? So, daghan mag-surplus of motor cars because of World War I. Himo na siya og himo na noon na siya og kanang private car ownership. So daghan nagtao ang nag-travel by motor cars during this time and also by air. In decline na pud ang travel by railway or train. Okay? Wait lang. Something wrong with my audio. I lost my Wi-Fi, wait. Okay, let us continue. So, unstable kadali akong internet, no? Wait lang yun. Okay. So, where were we? We're in the modern tourism na. Okay, here it is. Okay, so we also discussed last time the origin of tourism in the Philippines, where we discovered that the first early records of tourism were not yet recorded because the OT did not exist during this time. So does TPB and other tourism agencies. So, ang katurang ga-cater sa mga tourists coming outside of the country are Filipino entrepreneurs nga may kaugalingon nga sakyanan. Katong naa sila'y own private cars and coaches. So, they became tour drivers. They drove the travelers around Manila, and then they also conduct tours because syempre they are locals in that place. They know what are the best features in Manila and in other places. So, muna lang ginabuhat as a source of living. Now, there were only few tourist attractions during the early times of tourism in the Philippines. So, muna ito kong gidiscuss last time. And then, nag-start na ang orderly tourism activity only until 1947. So, later on, since nakita man nila nga daghan kay travelers nga nag-adto sa Philippines, so, na-develop ang PTTA, Philippine Tourist and Travel Association in 1952. And then later, na-establish ang Board of Travel and Tourist Industry to regulate, supervise, and control the tourist industry. And then, under the wing of BTTI is the PTTA, which is the Philippine Tourist and Travel Association. And gihimo niyag promotional arm si PTTA. Nowadays, the role of BTTI is now passed on to DOT, or Department of Tourism, with Tourism Promotions Board as its promotional arm. Then, there was a brief decline of the tourism industry in the 60s and 70s, and then prosper siya kadali, no? We really do not know what's the real score, pero sa 1972, prosper siya gamay during martial law. So, we stopped here. Nahunong ta dire. So, we will continue this one tonight. And then, the activity that we're going to do is actually just related to what we just discussed, the history of tourism until kaning mga travel patterns, what are the goals of the OT, and also what are the factors that favor the growth of tourism. So number one, these are the plans, no? Plans of the OT, formerly known as the National Tourism Organization of the Philippines. So, mao ni sa ang ilang mga plano. First is to increase visitor arrivals, especially from nearby markets like Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, and Taiwan, and high-spending markets like Germany. So, ngano kaning specific countries man jud? Because these countries, class, they spend so much money. And then, if they stay longer pa jud, mas dako pa jud na siya og contribution to the economy. So, an example of this is number 2, di ba? Number 2, ilaha pong goal ni DOT is dapat mo increase ang tourism receipts through longer stays. When we talk about tourism receipts, class, ang pag-spend sa mga tourists sa atuang country. Okay? So, for example, one tourist will spend at least $110 per day. That could be around 6,000 to 7,000 pesos. And they have to make sure nga this tourist will stay up to 11 days. Okay? So, kung $110 per day, usala ni siya ka-tourist, and then mo spend na siya every day for the next 11 days, so may mo na siya around 77,000 iyang ma-spend for 11 days only. Now, try to think if those 77,000 per tourist per one tourist, i-multiply nimo to 5,000 tourists. Maabot siya og at least 300 million. Okay? So, dako na kaayo na siya. Kung kanang 300 million pa lang, okay, naay portion ana ang government kay because if you're paying for services, if you're paying for tourism products, naman ay value added tax, no, and then that tax will go to the government or the national fund. Even though maka-benefit maana ang mga private establishments like hotels and resorts, a portion of that kanang ma-spend sa mga tourists magtupod sa tuang taxes and maka-benefit po na siya to help increase or improve our economy. Now, this can be accomplished by introducing more attractive destination and tours, more shopping and dining, and not getting just the budget traveler na katong tinipid ang ilahang pagbiyahe, pag-spend, but also the upscale markets who are like countries like Germany nga dinagko ang ilahang paggasto kada adlaw. Number 3, expand domestic tourism through more promotion. So, they're not only just targeting the international travel or international tourism. DOT would also like to expand domestic tourism through more promotions. Like, us, no, kita nga magsige pa taog travel, pa Siargao, pa Boracay, kay even though nga ginagmay man na to, budget traveler man mostly ang mga Filipinos, pero at least we can help also contribute, no, sa balance of payments, sa pag-improve sa economy through our tourist receipts and spending. Okay? And then, since kita budget traveler man ta, we can still be encouraged to travel through cheaper tour packages. So, na mga 5,000, good for 3 days na, pero grabe na kaayo, dala na natanan, full accommodation, so medyo sulit-sulit na siya, di ba? And new facilities, especially the lower income segments. And then, expand the capacity for tourism by promoting more private sector investments. Now, remember, sorry, kakagahod sa edo, no? So, remember that kani mga tourism facilities mostly comprised from the private sector. Like, kanang mga hotels, resorts, restaurants, they're not really from the government. Although there are some tourism facilities that are owned by the government. Pero most ana jud class, no, like mga convention centers, resorts, hotels, those are owned by the private sector. And in order to encourage more building or more infrastructure, we have to also encourage the involvement of the private sector. Kaya if more buildings, more establishment would mean more income, more jobs nga ma-generate. Kaya kinsa may mo trabahoan ng mga bago nga mga buildings or infrastructures, syempre mga tao, kay we are a service-oriented industry. And then number 5, improve the standards for service through the expansion of training programs for professionalization of the tourism management and labor force. Now, it's also very important that we keep or maintain the standards of high quality service, because kaning mga kaning mga mutrabaho sa mga different tourism establishments or hotels, if we provide high quality service class, our customers, international or domestic tourists, will be encouraged or will be satisfied, and they will come back sa ato nga country, no? Ay, ginahan ko mo bakasyon sa Philippines, mo stage ko longer. So, dako silang magasto sa Philippines. So, they are very satisfied with the services provided from the employees in hotels or resorts, no? Kaya, syempre, service-oriented industry man ta. And in order to make sure nga masatisfied ato ang mga guests, mga international and local tourists, through high-quality service, we have to train them. Okay? We have to train them properly, undergo sila og proper jud siya nga workshop, no? Mo man na siya. And number 6, proper major tourism infrastructure projects, like what I've said. The more nga daghang infrastructure nga ma-build, the more ma-attractive ang usa ka lugar. Like, for example, there is urbanization in a certain city. Uy, nagka-improve na lagyan ni ang Sagay City, no? Daghan lang kaayog mga dagko nga buildings, daghan nag mga tourism establishments, daghan nag resorts, hotels. So, ma-encourage na ang mga tao nga pagtuog Sagay because there are a lot of infrastructures built. So, mo po na ang gusto sa DOT. To encourage more tourists nga mo biyahe sa usa ka lugar or man-travel sa usa ka lugar, i-encourage po ang pag-build of more infrastructures. Number 7, engage in major tourism, estate, and resort development. So, very much like a callback to number 6 again. If we have more resort development, the more people will be interested to travel, and the more people nga dira sa kana nga lugar nga gitukuran ang matag-ag trabaho. Number 8, classify facilities in tourist sites according to the international standards. Okay? So, syempre, we have to also meet the international standards for establishments so that we can also provide high-quality service. And if we have high-quality service, the more masatisfied ang ato ang international or domestic tourist. And if they are satisfied, the more sila mo gasto and magbalik-balik sa ato ang country, and the more income nga ma-generate na siya and kitay maka-benefit. Number 9, strictly enforce the tour facility standards. And number 10, promote self-regulation within the different sectors of the tourism industry. Number 11, complete the national plan and destination tourism plan. Now, the Philippines, or even gani in the LGU, in their city tourism office, naadyo na gina-prepare nga tourism plan. So, the tourism plan actually helps in the growth of tourism because they provide what are the necessary budget or projects nga kinahanglan i-implement or programs nga kinahanglan nga i-materialize so that we can improve our tourism destinations, we can also build more infrastructures, and para pod madungagan ang attractiveness sa ato nga lugar, nga daghan mo biyahe sa ato or mo visit sa ato nga place. The number 12, encourage consumer advertising in selected markets. So, syempre no, even though the tourism industry is intangible because we capitalize on beautiful destinations, on hotels, which is more on service-based siya. Di man mo na siya madala sa inyong balay, no? Kay service-oriented industry man ta. Pero it is also very important that we treat the tourism industry just like any other product. And if you can remember in marketing, especially for ABM graduates, kinahanglan ta mo advertise. We have to let our potential customers, consumers, or even guests know that our products, or we have certain products and services that exist in our place. And in order to do that, we have to really advertise. O like first karon no, love the Philippines or it's more fun in the Philippines. Kay para encourage pud ang mga turista or even foreigners to really visit our country. Number 13, work closely with the private sector in product development and develop and strengthen linkages with the local government, the private sector, and the public through tourism councils. So actually, class, there is a need for a tourism council. Necessary na siya sa kada, even gani sa syudad, dili lang siya for the province of Negros Occidental or sa entire Philippines na tourism council, but even sa ato ang own syudad, if active ang inyong city tourism office, dapat na nasa tourism council nga comprise og public sector, the government, and the private sector. And then these following sectors will help build plans and even help formulate the destination tourism plan or the city tourism development plan, so that could help improve the tourism destinations in the city and even help also encourage more visitors in our city. Okay, sila na magplano-plano unsa na po'y nindot nga tourism attraction nga i-introduce, unsay mga tourism attractions or mga natural attractions nga naay potential nga ma-develop. Magpatukod ba tag bagong resort, hotel, no? Mo-host ba ta og kanang mga conventions and seminars para daghan mo visit sa ato nga city. So mo na siya, no? Those are actually the job of the tourism council. Now let's proceed to the international travel patterns. So major travel flows occur between the US and Western Europe. Like what we established just a while ago, Germany is also one of those European countries nga big spenders when it comes to tourism. Pero internationally, ang major travel flows magikan sa US and Western Europe. And what does it mean? It means nga kaning mga countries like US and even the continent of Europe, dagko sila og income, they have big disposable income, and mao na siya nga ang reason nga no daghang travel flows. Mga travel flows, daghan kaayo og mo travel, mo biya sa ilahang country or sa ilahang continent just to go and visit other countries. So we also have secondary regional patterns like South America, the Caribbean, Africa, Near East and Far East nga daghan kaayo og travel flows. Daghang mo travel outside from their country to visit other countries. Now, the heaviest flow of air traffic, when we talk about air traffic, kanang flights, no? Flights coming in and out per country. So, ang heaviest flow of air traffic nga halos everyday, pila ka flights ang gasulod ug gapagawas sa kaninga country kay ang continent of Europe. And then between New York and London. And then within Europe, so within lang, no? Within the continent of Europe, wait lang for a while. Sorry. Nakakuigi. Pamalihog lang. So, within Europe, the major flows between, not going outside of the continent of Europe, are the countries like London and Paris. So, between London and Paris, daghan po kaayo og major air traffic. So, naay gikan sa London, mo-travel og Paris, and then vice versa. And then also coming from London to Frankfurt, and then traveling to Amsterdam, traveling to Brussels, traveling to Zurich, Geneva, Madrid, Copenhagen, Vienna, Milan, Roma, and Munich. So, these following countries, daghan sila og air traffic. So, kung gawas pod ka sa Europe, continent of Europe, kay ang London, between London ug New York. So, meaning US rin na og Europe ang daghan kay travel flow. Makita naman ninyo sa ilahang air traffic. Okay? Daghang flights, no? Syempre, they can afford kay dako man pod sila og income. Wala jud ang Philippines diri, guys. Mahal kayong flights. By visa and all. So anyway, the top 10 countries in order nga daghan, ga-generate og international travel, meaning coming from their country, daghan og international travel mugawas sa ilahang lugar, is number 1 jud ang United States. So kabantay ka maski asa ka mo agto, daghan jud kay Americans, no? Americans mo travel og Europe, Americans mo travel og Asia, whether it might be in Central Asia, East Asia, Oh, Southeast Asia, here in the Philippines, di ba? Dagan kay mga kano, no? Followed by West Germany. Mabitaw na nga, isa sa mga goals ni DOT is si Germany. Ang ilahang i-encourage to travel in the Philippines kay grabe sila, no? Big spender sila when it comes to tourism. And then you have United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, France, Netherlands, Mexico, Switzerland, and Australia. Top 10 ni sila. They generate a lot of international travel because they have a big disposable income. Kalbanan nila mga first world countries. And then the continent of Europe generates about 1/2 of overseas travelers to the US. So imagine, no, Europe is actually quite smaller than North America as a continent. Okay? It's even smaller than Africa. Continent of Africa, ha? So, muna siya nga, masking gamay lang siya as a continent, pero daghan kaayo overseas travelers nga mobiyahe sa lain nga lugar, no, either intracontinental, okay, or intercontinental. So naa po tay intracontinental traveling between European countries. So sulod ra sa continent of Europe, which is very popular. Muna bitaw nga ang Europe has a large share of the worldwide travel market. So sila jud ang big providers of tourists. Let us now proceed to the last part of our discussion. Mandali na kayo tanong. So, gamay lang actually niya siya, no? Factors that favor the growth of tourism. Then, mahatag ko activity. So, maybe until next week lang na to i-submit, no? But please, if you can pass it on time, the better. Okay? So, para at least mahinayan ako o check. Kay timing man nga mag-prelim mo, mag-compute na pod ko grades diri sa amo ang school. Okay, so when you talk about factors that favor the growth of tourism class, this simply means muna siya nakatabang nga magpa-increase sa number of tourists sa usa ka lugar, and ang reason why daghan kaayo og travel flow. Okay? Number 1, rising disposable income for large sections of the population. And that's what happened to US and Europe. They have high-paying jobs. And when you talk about disposable income class, you've basically paid all of your bills, and then what's left is for you to dispose, no? Para nimo pa igasto, sana all. Kita ani kay survival mode man ta here in the Philippines class, no? Kay dili man dako ang ato ang salary pay grade diri. Mobitaw na siya nga ang uban mo migrate magtuglaing lugar. Kay dako man ang salary pay grade dito, and gamay ra ang ilang qualifications. It's only here in the Philippines that you will see nga daghan kaayog mga qualifications and credentials needed, but the salary pay grade is not reasonable at all. And then, wala po tayo disposable income. We live basically day by day, no, surviving on what we can, no? Kay igo rapod mo bayad kay mahal kay mga palitonon ron, mahal kayong bugas, then wala kay disposable income. Okay? Not unless if wala, di ka pamilyado, no? So, number 2, growth in the number of retired persons who have the desire and energy to travel. Usually, in cruise tourism class, no, or in cruise ships, majority of the tourists there, ang ilahad yung mga target market are the retired tourists. Yan ang mga, ning-retire na sa trabaho, kaya naman na sila mga pension. Dagko na sila mga pension. So, labi na karno, gipalower na nila ang age sa retirement. Pwede na 56 mo retire na ka. So muna nga gamito nila ilang mga remaining time, and then they have the means naman and money to do so to travel, no? Mamawi sila sa pila ka tuig nga sige sila kayon. Then increase in discretionary time. You have shorter work weeks and longer vacations. So dira na nino ang mga long weekends, especially kato natabo pag August, no, or kato pang bag-o lang September nga na ay times nga walay klase ang Monday per May kay vacation, no, or special holiday. Kung matunong man gani siya Sunday, i-move nila Monday, 'di ba? And then this coming October daghan na po kay mga long weekend, no, and because of that there is an opportunity for people to travel. And then we also have greater mobility of the population. This is due to the innovation in transportation. And it's easy now to travel because you can travel by plane, you can travel by we can travel by sea, by land. Okay, daghan nag mga modes of transportation, both affordable and expensive, depende na sa imong preference. And then number 5 is the growth in the number of singles. O syempre, in our generation, no, Generation Z, o Generation Z pa ta ha, kay 1997, 26 pa taon ta hitagor, no? So, ang ato nga generation, we're so afraid of commitment, we're so afraid of like generational trauma that we tend to not commit, di ba? And that increases, wait lang. That increases the number of single people. And then, when these people who are not really, dili sila, di man yung trap jud sa relationship, no? Pero, I mean, they have more free time than those who are in the relationship. So, they want to socialize more to traveling. Mobito na kalabanan, no, kanang mga dato nga single. Dala na sila sa cruise ship or mag-travel sila abroad because they want to socialize, okay? So, since daghan kay mga single, so daghan po kaayo mo travel. In fact, way back in 2017, the most number of tourists comes from the single female traveler or solo female traveler. Galing very scary lang, no, kung solo female traveler ka because, you know, it's really different to travel alone than men, no? So, ang number 6, greater credit availability through credit cards and bank loans. So, naana kay travel now, pay later. And even in credit cards, naman ni mga installment. Pwede ka nga magaso sa kakaroon din, anam-anam mo na ni mong bayad unya. Okay, unlike sa una, kailangan siya ka ma-prepare og dako nga money. If you can avail credit cards, you can just, you know, pay later, then you travel now. Number 7, higher educational levels. So, since millions of students attend colleges like you, no, and universities, nga you are exposed now to different cultures or kanang mga different na countries, even just here in your screen, the more that you will become interested or curious in foreign cultures and the more you are encouraged to travel. And even at the height of the popularity of social media, di ba, you will usually see unsa man, no, kanang mga vloggers, no, or kanang mga features sa kalugar nga bago na pud nga place i visit, then nanay mga details about that place. So because you are exposed to that, then the more that you will be encouraged or curious to travel, and it stimulates travel basically, no. Number 8 is the growth of cities. The Industrial Revolution brought about the migration of people from rural areas to urban centers to look for greener pastures, no? And because there is urbanization, like what I've said, no, nagkadako na ang mga syudad, daghan kay infrastructures nga na-built, those who are living in rural areas would tend to go to urbanized areas. Maybe ang uban is for permanent residents na jud to seek better opportunities at work. Or ang uban is just to simply visit the city kay para makalaglaag. So, para sa nang kita no gikanta sa probinsya, like San Carlos City is not a very big city, pero masamuag to kita sa mga like Iloilo or Manila or Cebu, mulaglaag jud ta kay wala man sa to ang lugar niya. Dira jud ta ginahan mo adto kay daghag kalingawan, no, daghag kalaagan. Or sa ano pa niyo kanang daghag malagaw mo, no, I don't know. Di na lang ta mo pangugos og ligay nun kay cringe. Pero kanang daghag places to visit or damo ang mga places nga i-visit ninyo. Number 9, simplification of travel through the package tour. So, with tour packages class, it's easy to travel. Because before, ikaw pa mag-book manually sa imong flights, ikaw pa personally mo mangita sa booking.com for room rates, and then mag-book pa kag hotel room, ikaw pa tanan mangita asa ka mulaag, so medyo hassle kay siya on your part. There are a lot of processes to take, but with tour packages, the tour operator will arrange all of your tourism services for you, like your accommodation, imuhang transportation, your itinerary kung asa ka musuroy. If dili ka familiar, pwede ka pakuyugan og tour guide, even car rentals, ma-arrange na siya tanan ni tour operator and i-introduce as a tour package. And igo na lang siya ka mo pay. Everything is already organized for you. And then for number 10, there is a growth of multinational business. So worldwide business interests increase both the need and habit of travel. Number 11, modern transportation technology. So technological advances in transportation have made long-distance travel faster, less expensive, and more comfortable. Like for example, you have the bullet train in Japan. Instead of like 2 hours ka mo travel, mahimo na lang siya 45 minutes. And it saves you a lot of time. So daghan pa kaayo ka og ma-visit nga mga places because you got to the next destination in just 45 minutes. And that is why people are more encouraged to travel. Number 12, there is a shift in values. In our generation, we prefer making memories more than owning material possession. So, di ba, kita ginahan jud tag makalaag ta or maka-remember ta ani nga kausarib bitaw ng gasto, at least ma-remember na ko ni forever, no? Yan na siya ng mga mindset sa mga younger people. So, that will also help stimulate or increase travel. Number 13, so, kita no, we value more the experiences rather than the material possession. Okay, mo bitaw na nga, halok po tag commitment kay our finances go through traveling instead of, investing in properties or settling down. Anyway, number 13, there is advances also in communication that can help increase the need for travel. Like television, movies. Sa una, it's very difficult for you to picture out this destination, but you have social media, you have television, you have YouTube, no? Yung mga vloggers nga mo-introduce ninyo ani nga lugar. Ikaw pod nga makakita, ay hala, I want to go to this place na. Okay, ginahan ko mo visit ani nga lugar. Okay? So I'm interested kaya I saw this on TV. No, there are advances in communication and how people advertise different destinations. So misking layo kayo na siya, no, with the power of the internet and satellites, no, you will be introduced to new places in the comfort of your own homes. And then number 14, smaller families and changing roles. American and European birth rates have declined, giving the adults more free time to get away from family responsibilities. And before, di ba, ang mga igsoon sa tong mga ginikanan, maabot og 8, 9, 12 ka buok, no? So, syempre, mabisi na ang inyong grandparents og take care sa inyong mga titos and titas kay pilas la ka buok mag-igsoon, no? 12 ka siblings, 8 ka siblings, so there's really no time to travel and relax. But with just fewer or smaller families, no, a typical nuclear family nowadays would just consist of like 1 or 2 kids, no, or 3 kids, and then if they grow up na, samtang like for example, bata pa, nagdako ng mga anak pero bata pa ang parents, so it gives them more time to travel. Okay? So, lahi na sa karon. And that is it. I told you, dasig lang ta for tonight. Basically,